Good afternoon. I'm Mike Keeley, the Public Safety Chairman for the Board of Legislators. We're going to call the Public Safety Committee meeting of May 5th, 2021 to order. And the first order of business is a roll call.
Mr. Healy,
Here.
Mr. Dibble,
Here.
Mr. Decker,
Here.
Mr. Harris, Mr. Havey,
Here.
Mrs. Hopkins,
Here.
Mr. Crandall. 7 members present.
Thank you. Second order of business will be approval of the minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of April 7th, 2021. Moved by Mr. Harris, second by Mr. Dibble. Any discussion, corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Carried. Next is approval of the minutes of April 12th, 2021. Mr. Havey moves it. Mrs. Hopkins seconds. Any discussion? Corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Carried. Now we'll do our monthly reports from our department heads, and our first department head is Barb Kelly, Public Defender. Good afternoon, Barb.
Am I good now? All right.
Right up there at the top.
Okay. If you look at my monthly report, just to summarize, I guess I would say we're slowly getting back to regular business. If you compare the month of April to last year, you can see that we've, last year was probably the first full month of lockdown, and this year we're starting to get back. We've been advised that the justice courts are going to start regular arraignments and hopefully court proceedings with some modifications starting in June. So we expect everything to be back and running by the summer. Any questions on the monthly report?
Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The line new files opened that shows a big increase from April of 2020.
Right.
Is that an indication that the court system is opening up or an indication that crime is increasing?
It's definitely related to the courts opening and closing because, like I said, April of 2020 was a basic, going into shutdown. And so I don't think crime is increasing. I think we've been on hold. And I think probably I expect to see fairly large increases going on. It's just a matter of catching up.
So some of those are pending then, cases.
These are all just new openings.
Okay.
Does that-
I can't tell you what's pending, but those numbers are large because there haven't been a lot of dispositions.
Oh,
New filings, that could be, does that occur at arraignment or when they get an appearance ticket? How's that work?
We generally do them from arraignment because that's when we get assigned. I know that there are a lot of outstanding appearance tickets where the people haven't actually been in court yet. That's what's going to start happening in June. I know that because I read the rest reports. I know that a lot of those cases will be coming my way. Some clients that we're familiar with usually call us when they get an appearance ticket. So.
Okay, thank you.
anybody else have a question for the public defender? Hearing none. Anything else you wish to highlight, Barb?
Not on the monthly report. I did put forth a request to create a new position. I don't really want any action on it today. I spoke to Mr. Buttinger before this meeting, and he really hasn't had a chance to review it with me yet. So we're not in a big rush. I would prefer to put it on for next month after we have the opportunity to just make sure that all the specifications are to his liking.
County Administrator?
Yes, I've discussed this matter with Ms. Kelly, and I'm supportive of the concept. I think it's just a matter of getting the right title and the right place in our pay grade for the position, and she's hoping to use grant money to cover the total of the salary, hopefully.
So your preference is just not to take any action today at all on this matter?
No, I'd be happy to, just tell you what we're looking for. We're looking, so you can think about it and let me know if you have questions. We're looking to hire a paralegal. The idea would be approximately half of their job description would be to handle the discovery. As you know, because of the new discovery reform, we're entitled to a lot more information prior to the case coming forward. I know that a couple of positions were added in the DA's office to enable them to get that information out. We're going to need a person to handle that. We also would hope to be able to train this person to do some sort of simple investigations. For example, taking statements from witnesses, things like that.
Well, Mr. Dibble,
I'll move to table to next month.
I don't think we're going to move it. I think we're just going to put it on hold.
Yeah, table's the same thing.
Right,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
I have a small question. For office space, you got your ergonomics up there?
We think that we will have a place to put this person.
Thank you.
Okay, well, it sounds like a good plan, Barb, and we'll look forward to hearing from you next month on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff Flucky, Emergency Management and Fire Director. Afternoon, Jeff.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to highlight just a couple things on my report. Assisted with the New York State Police with traffic control for an Amish funeral that they had. It was kind of unusual. The cemetery is located about 2 miles away. There was probably about 500 Amish there, and at least 200 of them walked down the cemetery, about a 2-mile walk down over Basswood Hill, if you know that. So it was a good opportunity to work with them. They showed their appreciation like that, and just keep working on community information with them. And I was pleased to say you really like. One of the leaders said, I really like you because you sit and listen to us and understand us. So still working on relationships with them to build that. Bonnie and I are meeting with the hazard mitigation. We mentioned that we got that due in a couple of years here. We're going to start on it now, working with our planning department. We met with the highway department and informed them of that. I had a joint meeting with the Firemen's Radio Committee, the Sheriff's Office, Fire Advisory Board. The meeting went well. Again, feedback was that the towers have been in great increase in the coverage area for both pagers and portable radios. Just general information sharing, we'd be planning on meeting them again at a joint meeting in the fall. And we had a special, I know a couple of you were involved with this, we met before on the Fire Advisory Board. We did have a special Fire Advisory Board meeting of a committee, just looking at recruitment and retention. I put together a packet for them of recent surveys that were done in New York State, and then ones that were actually done just in Western New York as well. So we're still working on that. Next Fire Advisory Board meeting is May 27th at 7 p.m. at the Crossroads. Any questions on my report?
The recruitment and retention was a big topic at the last month's Fire Advisory Board meeting.
Yes.
And I know you were unable to attend because you were elsewhere at another meeting, but it certainly is an ongoing problem, and we have to be certainly as proactive as we can about it.
Correct. Yep.
Any questions for Jeff on his report? Anything else you wish to add?
I have no, not on the report. I got the 2 MOEs.
Okay.
I believe the first one you see is our traditional SHSP grant funding, 100% covered under the grant. There is no local share. The total amount is $59,750. As you can see, we're asking to apply for it, but we did have to submit. The grant didn't come in till April 6th, I think it was, and it was due April 28th. This is a combined grant with our Sheriff's Department as well. So it has been submitted. We're just looking for approval.
I'll entertain a motion moved by Mr. Dibble, seconded by Mr. Decker. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Carried.
Second one again is to apply for a grant. This is LEMPG. This is a 50/50 grant. The total amount's $22,869. As you can see, this came in on the 21st and it was due April 30th. So we did submit this as well. We'll have a breakdown later for both these grants as we get into make sure that what we submitted has been approved. And usually in August or September, we'll get the final and then bring it to you for final approval. But again, this is just to apply, which we already had to do.
And the previous year grant was a multi-year grant.
Yes.
Okay.
Everything's been, the only thing is the amount of money we're receiving is going down.
Okay.
But other than that, it's the same.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion and a second MOE. Moved by Mr. Harris, seconded by Mr. Decker. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Carried.
And just for the good of the order, Mother's Day, like from the fire service, we like to wish our mothers a happy Mother's Day. But a lot of us are also having chicken barbecue. So go out to your local fire department and enjoy chicken barbecue.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Harris.
may I ask a question before we lose Jeff?
Sure.
Did I hear correctly there was a search and rescue operation within the last week?
Yes.
Can you describe emergency management's typical role in a search and rescue operation like that, please?
Sure. My deputy it usually builds up. So in this one, actually, there's been kind of two search and rescues. So in this case there, I was in contact with my deputy coordinator who happens to live in Allentown. So he's right there at Elma. He helped coordinate that as well. The 911 center called it, I think the sheriff's got more to comment on it probably because they use their drone to a great asset. That's why I didn't mention it. But going forward, we partnered in. They did ask for the forest ranger usually as lead on civilians that are lost. Work together with them. I was in contact with can't think of his name. Justin. I was in contact with Ranger Justin, and they thought they had a pretty good lead. So the fire service was requested. They basically did a standby. They didn't go out in the field, but they were ready to. So it ended up being they were able to find it with the drone. But the fire and EMS went in and assisted getting the gentleman out, and I guess they put out a small fire as well. So we always partner in with them and work together with them. And I mentioned the second one because actually on Friday, there was a river discovered in the there was a vehicle discovered in the Genesee River in the town of Fillmore, town of Hume, right, the County Route 4 bridge. Basically what had happened around midnight that night, some kids were out. I say kids, I'd never heard how old they were, but there's a popular place to go four-wheeling kind of, and we call it the beach, and all it is gravel. But it's become a nice swimming hole, kayaking, put off point. Parties are bad there. There's family gatherings, stuff like that, but sometimes somebody go out at night. I guess their vehicle became unoperable. They moved it to where they thought it would be safe, but it was still in the channel of the river. The river came up and flooded it. So somebody saw it in the morning, and it was right up to the rear view mirror on the inside of the vehicle. We were pretty sure from information that there was nobody in it, but I did assist the state police and stayed with them. And they brought a couple of their Swiftwater guys to go in and hook a tow truck to it and bring it down. So like I say, back again, got a long answer, but both times we just partner with them and assist.
Who takes the lead on volunteers for a larger search and rescue?
Again, it's usually because a bunch of us are trained crew bosses. So that's through the forest ranger. So we always work under the forest ranger pretty much. And we've always developed ours around there. We have about 20 people in the county that are crew bosses. And what a crew boss is, I'm one of them. What a crew boss is, their job is just to take a group of people out and bring them back safely and also be able to say that they covered a particular area, a percentage.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Jeff. Next up is District Attorney Keith Slepp. He's unable to be with us today, but Assistant District Attorney Ian Jones is with us. Afternoon, Ian.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody.
You have, I see you have your investigator with you also, and maybe some of the legislators here that aren't familiar with, maybe you'd like to introduce Scott?
Yes, this is Scott Cicerello. He's been with us for a little over a year now. I retired from New York State Police as an investigator, and couldn't say enough about everything he's done for our office in the approximate year he's been here. He's been tremendous. With respect to the report, there's nothing particularly remarkable about the figures this month compared to last month. Misdemeanors and violations are down, but I think it's more a product of the natural ebb and flow. I don't think it's anything that's indicative of a larger policy or law change. But we'll track it for the next few months, see if it continues one way or another, and if there is a significance to that, and something we should be looking into further. As far as the April year-to-date figures, really anything's going to be, it's actually not that significantly different, but anything's going to be a little bit of an anomaly just from COVID-19. I actually think it'll kind of trend a little more significantly in the coming months because this was kind of the beginning. There's a little bit of a lag, and this was kind of the beginning of when things would trail off. Officers weren't going out due to their district policy or state policy where they weren't on the road, things like that. So I actually think the disparity will become a little wider here in the coming months. But again, it's COVID-19 related. I don't think it's anything that will continue long term. So that's it with respect to the report. Are there any questions or anything of that nature?
Any questions for Ian on the report? No, good.
Okay, thanks everybody.
Anything else you wish to,
No, we have we do have the one request to fill the position for the senior typist. I'm not asking for any action on that today. We have a couple of other things going on, which I'm sure everyone is aware of, for some other staffing concerns that we're going to address hopefully in the near future. And I'm just going to have those kind of trail along together. Hopefully we can take care of it all in one shot rather than piece by piece. So I really don't want any action taken on that today. It's not critical right now.
okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Next up, Brian Perkins, Stop DWI Coordinator.
Hello, everybody. We did just notice not long before this meeting that apparently my report didn't make it into the original attachment you got. A new one had been sent out, but I did also print some extra copies if anybody needs a hard copy today. I'd be happy to hand one off to you. So, as per the report, I mean, really the victim impact panels have really slowed down. But with the courts kind of reopening, as Ms. Kelly mentioned earlier in June, then we'll start to see more of those arraignments coming, more of those forms coming back to me so that we can get some more numbers into our victim impact panels. I do have one person scheduled to come to the evening one that's coming up here towards the end of the month. Our mid-year state meeting for Stop DWI is actually tomorrow via Zoom, so I'll be over there checking in on that one. And I've been working on getting bike safety scheduled with some of the schools. I'm not going to be able to get into all of them by the looks of it. There's some I didn't hear back from at all. I'm sure that they're still being pretty cautious about letting outside people come in. The 6 schools that I am trying to get into are actually also pushing to have me do it outside, which makes complete sense to me anyway for bike safety. You know, we might be able to do some different things than me just walking into the classroom and telling them. So I'll see how I can modify what I normally do anyway and maybe make it a little different. So other than that, the only other thing I mentioned in the report was Traffic Safety Board. We continued some conversations we had with that, preparing to be a part of the fair if the fair happens this year, and addressing any other things we've got going on.
Okay. Well, we'll start out with any questions on your report here. Are there any?
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Harris. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the bike safety thing,
Yeah.
when you do the outreach to schools, try to pick up schools, do you cover all the schools within the county or just the CA BOCES schools?
We do all the schools in the county. Alfred Elman I've been out to, because that would be the one that doesn't get caught by the CA BOCES. I didn't hear back from them this year. I know we did send an email out to them, so I don't know where we're at with that. And I still might hear some. I mean, maybe they were letting their schedule settle in and see how things are going. But so I'll certainly be open to getting out to anybody else that gets back to me. But
Thank you.
Any other questions on the report? Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Robert Starks, Probation Director. Afternoon, Robert.
Good afternoon. The one thing I want to highlight on my monthly report, as you can see, is our PINS referrals are nearly as, for the first first 4 months of the year, is nearly as many as we had all of last year. And I think that's primarily because of truancy issues. The schools are finding with their various in-person, hybrid, at-home, online learning that some students, even though they're home, they're still not getting onto their classes and they're counting them as absent, as being absent. So we're getting a number of referrals for those reasons. So otherwise, not really anything too remarkable. Our numbers reflect the fact that we've gone about a year without much court activity, and as mentioned previously by the Public Defender's Office and the DA's office, we anticipate more work, as I've been saying right along, once the courts reopen, and we'll get busier, I'm sure.
Okay. Any questions for Bob on his report? Hearing none, any other questions? Anything you wish to highlight?
Nothing else?
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Gilbert Green, Weights and Measure Director.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon, Gilbert.
Things are getting a little bit busier. I got one change on my report. The one scale in Wellsville's not going to get done this month. They're still repairing it. And I'm waiting to get on the schedule to get the airport pumps checked. The state has a designated approver they send around to do all the airports because of the fuel, special fuel. Other than that, it's a pretty typical month.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Mrs. Hopkins?
Just more of a comment. Just like to say thank you to Gilbert for being more specific with the places that you've checked. It makes it very interesting and helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
And if you get a hold of me, you can go to one of those.
She can help, right?
Sure.
Any other questions? Nope. Thank you. Thank you, Gilbert.
You're welcome.
Next, Rick Whitney, Sheriff.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Sheriff.
I submitted my report if you have any questions.
Mr. Harris, any questions?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's not in relation to your report, but I am interested in hearing about how the drone was utilized in that search and rescue operation.
Well, we got a call that night. I think it was around midnight. They requested the drone. The drone we have does have a night vision camera. So our radio tech, Matt Evans, and one of our deputies, Dale Thomas, went to the scene with the drone. And within, I think it was 11 minutes from the time they put the drone up, they found the man. So it worked out very well.
Yeah, just a comment, myself included. I'm one to roll my eyes at when we buy toys like this. But you utilize that thing once effectively, and it's paid for itself as far as I'm concerned. So congratulations to the Sheriff's Office.
Thank you.
Mr. Fanton.
I'd like to thank the sheriff for coming out to the town of Willing and giving us information on the programs that he deals with. So thank you very much.
Okay. and we thank you for those comments.
Also crowd control.
Now, of course, the drone's a little easier to use before this time of year before the leaves get fully out.
Yep, it
So-
is. I mean, we actually, the undersheriff and I actually watched the video because they made a video of it. And it really was interesting and I can see where in the summer when things are a little warmer, that it might be a little tougher.
Yeah.
But with the cool temperature and it also helped that the ATV or UTV had caught fire and was kind of smoldering. So that helped a little bit, but.
Well, yes, and I bet it was really interesting. And a big thank you to everybody in the Sheriff's Department for a job well done there. Now we'll go on to the rest of the report. Are there any, or another comment, Mrs. Hopkins?
I had a question on the pill drop.
Yes.
How are the numbers tracking over the last few times, having all of the other pill drop locations in the county?
The last couple of pill drops have run just about the same, but it's down from when it was when we first started because of all the drop boxes. The total that we're collecting is a lot more than we used to get when you put in the drop boxes with the pill drops. But yeah, the pill drops are going, but we still got, I worked Friendship and we had 2 full boxes about this high. So it's still, people are still using the pill drops.
Thank you. And then I was just going to ask on the pill drop locations, is it the Sheriff's Department that picks all of that up from those boxes that are stationary boxes?
Yes. Well, not all of them at this point. We will be. Some of them, there's 2 or 3 out there that we got through a grant through the DEC, and they're in pharmacies. And at this point, I think the deal was for the first 2 years, the DEC sent the pharmacy boxes, and the pharmacy itself boxes them up and sends them back. But I think that 2 years is almost running out. I think it's like this September that 2 years runs out, and at that point, we'll be going around collecting them ourselves, yes.
Thank you very much. That's a great service to the county. Thank you.
We get a lot of compliments from people that drive up, yes.
Good thing.
Any other questions? Mr. Barnes?
Yes, Sheriff. Earlier, we were told about a leak that had caused some damage in electrical system, I guess, in one of your pods.
Yes.
So the problem, is that a general leak that haven't been able to repair and it's still causing damage, that they can't use that pod, or what?
Well, the reason we can't use the pod is because we haven't replaced the parts. The parts are obsolete, which unfortunately, the last couple of times we've had damage, that's what we've run into. So we're looking, I guess they're looking at this point for companies that have the obsolete parts so we can get things back up running. But that's why it's closed right now, is we can't open it up.
So you have how many pods altogether?
5.
5 pods. So 4 are usable and 1
Yes.
is not usable.
Right.
Now, are you using all 4 of the other?
Yes. I mean, luckily, I guess you could say luckily, our population is down, because if we'd have been, when I first arrived here, if we had that population, we'd have had to ship a few out probably, so.
Thank you.
Just an update on the roof. When the leak was discovered, Buildings and Grounds with a roofing contractor showed up the next day to repair the leaks for those pods. I believe they inspected the whole roof and found 13 holes in the roof and repaired them. So the repairs are done. I believe the whole roof was looked at. There shouldn't be any more leaks at this point in time. It's just the electrical.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the sheriff on his report or anything else? Anything else you wish to comment on there, Sheriff?
No, I did spend 3 days at Albany last week at the State Sheriff's Conference and training, and as you can imagine, it was a busy 3 days. I can't remember everything we discussed, but it was proactive, so I guess it was a good idea to go there, so.
And you got some,
Yes, I have a couple of requests to fill. I'm not sure which order you have them in. One of them is to fill our RN position. We had a registered nurse that resigned, so we need to fill a registered nurse position.
I'll entertain a motion. Mr. Decker and Mr. Habe second. Discussion? Mr. Decker?
Excuse me, Sheriff. The health department's been having a hard time finding an RN. Are we gonna run into the same problem here?
Unfortunately, probably, I think we are.
Is there anything that we can do proactively to? I mean, what's the main sticking point?
Well, I would say probably there's two sticking points. First of all, it's a different work. They're working with the inmates, and I think a lot of people don't realize, they're kind of maybe scared to come and work at a facility like that and work with the inmates because they don't know really a lot about it. And secondly, I think it's probably salary. I think you can make a lot more out in the general public working for a hospital or working for a doctor than they can for us, so.
When that brings another question. When you were down in Albany, did that situation come up? Did that discussion come up with some of your colleagues down there about the salaries, or?
No, it didn't. A lot of the larger jails use like a medical service that they contract with, but no, that didn't come up there.
Okay, thank you.
And I think the position that the health department has a lot of difficulty filling is the nurse practitioner position, which there's also a nurse practitioner at the jail. That's currently filled.
Yes.
And this is the RN. And I think we haven't had as much trouble filling the RNs as we have the nurse practitioner.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this RFP?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
For the county administrator, you continually look at these positions, right, in terms of opportunities to share positions between departments and so forth. Is that true?
I do, and the departments also discuss it amongst themselves. I believe the sheriff's office has discussed these positions with the health department to best utilize, recruitment and use of the services. And I believe their current nurse practitioner has also been helping out with the vaccine pods for the health department as well. So they do share services, and although I like to look for the opportunities, they're pretty good at finding them themselves. So.
Thank you.
Anything else? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Carried.
Okay, the second one, I don't know whether all of you got it or not, but I redid that one. I had originally asked for a cook manager position, but I switched that just to a full-time cook position. I sent it to all of you about an hour ago, I think. Hopefully you got it. So the salary is a little different, but other than that, we need to fill a vacant slot we have in the kitchen for a full-time cook.
Entertain a motion. Mr. Dibble, seconded by Mr. Harris. Discussion. Mr. Budinger, do you have some comments on this one?
Yes, you still want to ask permission for the manager as well, correct? Sure.
Right. I mean, yeah, we're still going to need to fill the cook manager, but what we're hoping is the person that we put into this full-time cook position will be working with the manager until she retires, and then we will promote her to the manager, at which point then we will have to fill another.
Well, I would recommend that you get two permissions to fill. One is for the full-time cook, that for the training period, because you have to have a spot to put the person, and they do have a vacant full-time cook slot available to put this person. So permission to fill that at step 3, which is it should be in his request to fill. And then I would recommend that you get approval for a cook manager. So in September, when this person retires, then that training period can end and you can promote that person up, or whoever you want to promote up, I'm assuming it's that person, up to that cook manager position. So they work together to accomplish the end goal, which is to have a new cook manager after the other one retires.
I only have the cook manager one in front of me here.
I probably, it'll be in your email, Chairman, but
County administrator, is that, you got that?
I approve them both. I know that, we need to fill the spot. It's pretty important that we have food for the inmates. I don't know how you get around that one. And just to thank you to Mr. Budinger for looking these over this morning and making sure we have the most efficient use of the positions that we have.
All right. HR Director Budinger, thank you for bringing it up to speed on all that, and Madam Administrator. So I'll entertain a motion on the first one would be the cook manager. Let's take care of that. Mr. Havey, a second, Mr. Dibble, or did we have a? Okay, we do have one. All right. So, okay, we'll just take a vote on that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Carried. And the next one is for a part-time cook?
full-time.
Full-time cook. Okay, I'll entertain a motion on that position. Mrs. Hopkins, and second by Mr. Decker. Any discussion on that one?
Just real quick, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
To be clear, a cook manager is direct supervisor to the cooks?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
She does all the planning and scheduling and that.
The salaries are
along with
like,
the cook.
right, the salaries are right on top of each other.
Chairman Crandall?
I'm just looking at the cook manager as well, and I'm not looking, you say the salaries are right on top of each other. I'm not seeing that. That was my question. What is the hourly rate or the salary of the cook?
The full-time cook, the hourly annual, or annual is 44,349. The hourly is 21,32.
Thank you. You're correct. They are right on top of each other. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further discussion on the second position, we'll entertain the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Carried. And Sheriff, anything else you wish to add?
I'm sure you all got the enumeration update. It's still going along well. As you can see, we did add the Tioga County, Pennsylvania, the first two towns there. And what we're trying to do is get the first two towns in every county that surround us into the system so that if we have to do a mutual aid, so we're working on that, and the project's going on pretty well.
Okay, and I'm glad you mentioned why that is, because probably some of the public listening in might not understand that, but and that is for mutual aid benefits, and hopefully they have the same services there on our end for our residences. Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Radio systems going good?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Healy?
Yes.
I have a question about the enumeration, Sheriff. When you worked with the Pennsylvania people, did you find that their system is very different from ours, or is it easy to go on?
It's pretty easy to get them together once you have all the information.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty compatible then?
Yeah, it's pretty compatible once you get the information that they need to enter in.
Thank you.
And the same true with our adjoining counties in New York State, or?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you, Sheriff. All right. Any old business? Any new business? Anything for the good of the order?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn if there's no additional information.
All right. A move to adjourn by Mr. Decker, seconded by Mr. Havey. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.